So this video is called Awareness, Information, and Energy. These are concepts that I've, never have left my philosophical process. I started with these principles and they've stayed with my process throughout, and they've guided and shaped my process as I've had to discard other ideas, concepts, and principles. Basically, I am absolutely 100% positive certain that you can describe, at least philosophically, all of reality with these three principles: awareness, information, and energy. Now, the only question then is, how do you define these principles? Now, I've added one more principle, which is ether, but that's more like a potential energy space that would grow out of awareness, only because I think that you cannot describe reality without it, I think, and that's the only reason I've incorporated that. But awareness is essentially what you can experience spiritually as your own awareness, and the awareness of everything, which is the ultimate nature of reality, as described by the the yogis, the Buddhists, the Taoists, and all the mystics throughout history. And that awareness is infinite, absolute space. So I don't know that answers any questions, but I have made videos about the Enlightenment Methodology, which spells out very clearly a whole methodology, a whole array of methods for actually experiencing this enlightenment, pure awareness, pure consciousness, whatever you want to call it, for yourself. So there's really nothing more to be said than that awareness, this fundamental principle of reality, is the ultimate nature of reality, that is infinite absolute space, and that must be experienced to be understood. It's not merely a philosophical concept, it's something you must experience. And I've formulated in what I call the Enlightenment Methodology for doing that, so there's nothing more to be said about it philosophically or intellectually or otherwise. The Buddha was right that some questions just, you either leave them or you experience them. Simple as that. So now that's awareness. Then you have these other two principles, information and energy. And initially, I never really had a clear sense of what information and energy were. I thought that initially, my initial formulation of reality, which kind of harkens back to my previous video that I just did a minute ago, which is space, force, and substance. My initial description of reality, when I broke it down further, when I said awareness, information, and energy, I translated those terms into space, frequency, and particle. So in that sense, space would be synonymous with awareness, information would be synonymous with frequency, and then energy would be synonymous with particles, particulate kind of matter, substances, etc. But as I looked at it more closely, I realized that those terms were not applicable. And I started to move away from those terms of frequency and to describe information, and of particles to describe energy. And the reason is because I started to realize there was a more fundamental principle. And initially I thought it was magnetism, and I think it is magnetism, but you can reduce it even further and say whether it's magnetic or not doesn't really matter. The more fundamental principle is spin. That spin is what, when you're saying information and you're saying energy, you are talking about different aspects or properties or attributes of spin or expressions of spin. Okay? So when you're saying information, you're saying spin direction. So you're saying, what is information? Information is whether this spin is clockwise versus anti-clockwise. Does it spin this way or does it spin that way? and that determines its informational content. And there you can go down and qualify it further and come to all kinds of nuances of, well, if it spins like this, and this, in this kind of way, relative to this, and this, then you have these kind of precise informational things. But the fact remains, the basic principle of information is spin direction, whether it's clockwise, anti-clockwise. Now, when you say energy, what you're saying is spin force. And so what I've drawn here is not two spins that are kind of like equal, opposite spins, but, unequal spins. Not so much that they're opposite or not, but these are unequal spins. You see, you have a larger spin and a smaller spin. Larger versus smaller spins. That's where you have differentiations in energy or in spin force. So information is spin direction and energy is spin force. So now what's happening is, okay, if you have awareness, which is the ultimate nature of reality, infinite absolute space, and it has within it all these spin directions or information and all these spin forces or energy, and you have to have a fundamental kind of magnetic energy substance, the ether, because what's going to be spinning? There has to be something there that's spinning. Now, I don't even know what the properties of this ether would be, other than that it maybe parallels awareness and fills space, and it's like a potential kind of information energy substance that has some properties of vibration, oscillation, or spin, and that then the spins can be intensified or augmented, in terms of force or in terms of direction. So that's just the basic idea of awareness, information, and energy, which parallels my other videos of the one that I did previously of space, force, and substance, as well as another video, sphere, vortex, and matrix. All of these together, I think, kind of give different windows into understanding reality. But the real point is we have to get at what is spin and how can we define it and describe it most accurately and formulate a real solid spin force geometry, spin frequency geometry, whereby we can map out all spins at all scales and thus create spin technologies of every possible kind that we could use. So that's about it. Thanks.